councils didn't come from the stuff that we came from. You get the chance to experience all of this stuff without all the red tape and the stuff and the limitations that we went through. You know, that's a blessing for y'all. But then it's also a curse because you don't understand it truly because you never had to do it. So you kind of take advantage of it and you just kind of let it it goes over your head, and then you get conditionalized and normalized to thinking that this is how you do it. And you got to understand all the body of it. So the stuff you do now, you can really do it at a full level. You know, you got compression, you got all of this stuff, but have you really dealt with a real compressor? Right. Those are things that, you know, you have to ask yourself, are you really studying these things, or are you just going through the motion? What's your feelings about that, young guru? Because
you hit it, man. Like having that instant access was something that we dreamed about, right? Because like you said, we went through it. So it was like, man, I wish I could make records at the crib. Instead of, I don't think people realize, like, we had to come up with ideas. Then you had to get the money up. You know, as a young kid, I was a kid at the time, you know what I'm saying? And get the money up, go in the studio. So we prepared to go in the studio, right? It was no going in the studio like just to mess around or whatever. So we kind of worship that thing of like, this is a respect, a reverence for the studio time. So we were prepared. When we wanted that to be able to go out, you know, I could do this at home. Okay. But we already had the idea that at home, I'm going to have all of these pieces. I'm going to have my SP. I'm going to have my MP. I'm going to have my preamps. I'm going to have my compressors. I'm going to have all of this stuff. Then it was also like, yo, once we get done making the record, we didn't have trucks. We didn't have planes. We didn't have, you know, the ability to put these songs, print them on cassette, on vinyl, or on CD, whatever it was, then fly them to every store around the world all on the same day. We didn't have that ability, right? So then we was like, I got to go get signed. That was the whole reason for us being signed, was like, I need somebody to front this money to be able to do all of that. So again, we was like, yo, I wish I didn't have to bow down to these A&Rs and like go chase an A&R and wait for my check and my back end and all this other stuff. So we was happy when things started coming in that made it quicker and easier for us. But what you started to see was, you started to see a bunch of kids that was adding with a calculator that don't know how to add. Like, you know what I'm saying? People will have these arguments about, yo, you don't want the technology to move forward. And I'm like, yo, I'm the biggest tech guy in the world, but I also want you to learn how to add before you use a calculator. This is why you don't give a calculator to a kid in the 4th grade. Right?
Oh my goodness. Hold up. Stop. Just stop, bro. Oh my goodness.
That was good.
You know why that's hitting my soul so hard? Because I've been in martial arts since I was 7. And that was one of the biggest things my instructor said. I don't care about no jump kicks. I don't care about no advance this, advance that. If you don't stick to that foundation, the basic front kick, side kick, round kick, and the basics, those advanced techniques will mean nothing if you don't know that foundation. Right. So what you're saying right now is 3,000% of what I've been saying from day one. Right. Them are bars, bro. Yeah. Keep going, bro. Just keep going. I had to stop you.
That's the real, you know what I'm saying? So, and I try to give a little bit of the medium, right? Because there's some people way extreme on one side, way extreme on another side, and a lot of them don't even know what they're talking about. So that thing about being around students and like teaching them how to add is a big thing for me. It's like the AI conversation of like, oh, here come the AI, and it's you're just gonna be able to create music on your own. And I'm like, it's a tool, but at the end of the day, I want you to know how to add first. You should be able to play a guitar first, because the AI is nothing but mimic what somebody else has done. And if you came up to me today and was like, yo, I play, horns, and I could play this John Coltrane song just like John Coltrane, I'm like, yo, I already heard John Coltrane play the song. Where's your voice at? Where's your right? Yes, you would study that song to mimic one of the greats, to practice, right? To see if you could do it. Right. You got to put your voice into that instrument, or else you'll never be as good as him, or at least, and it ain't even about what's better. It's just about different. And can you give your own voice to music? I feel like every human being is different. So every form of music should come through different. The type of music I'm making is going to be different than what KLC was making. It's going to be different what Ski is making. You know what I'm saying? And all using relatively like the same equipment, but it's like, right. It's your vibe. It's where you grew up at. It's what music you were exposed to, you know what I'm saying, in the household, outside of the household. What was the local jam when you was, you know what I mean, 15 years old, stepping off the porch? Like, what was the local jam when you was in high school? What was the colleges doing? Like, all of that is different flavors, and I don't want those flavors to get just mashed up. I want to go to New Orleans and feel some music that feel like, you know what I'm saying, New Orleans. And like,
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And nobody could probably incorporate, you know, frontline music or something like that better than somebody from that area. Versus, like, I go to the West, I want to feel like the West Coast. I want to feel like what it feels like when I'm riding in my car. You know what I'm saying? The West Coast ain't really a walking area the way like New York is. So the music will be different, and everybody should have their own expression. But the point that we making is that, number one, tools, right? What's the tools that we use? We want our tools to be top notch, and we get into a point, and I'm sure people have watched you a lot the same way that I do, right? Where it's just like we get to a point where manufacturers are worried about cost, and they're worried about how many features can I throw into this thing. Where it's just like, bro, I already got a computer. If I need a computer to do computer shit, I got a computer already. I need my beat machine to sound like a beat machine.
Bingo. Yeah. Bingo. I got to stop you again. Bars.
That part.
It's going to be hard for people to understand this conversation, and I get it. You know, it's one of them things where when I look at programming, you know, everything is programming. So when you get program, you start believing these programs, but it has to come from guys like myself and KL and yourself, because we've done it and we understand and we see what's going on. We see how they're taking advantage of our ambition and our passion. There's a lot of people that have passion. Don't let the passion, it's no different than when we signed record deals. We went in, I know cats that just signed deals. Yeah, oh, they love me. They don't love you.
Right.
They don't love you. You know, well, they trying to meet. Yeah. Man, I had a company. I'll just tell you, I was signed to Columbia in 2001. You know, big deal. I mean, they gave me like about $800K. You know what I'm saying? 800,000. Imagine that, to make a rap album. You know what I'm saying? That's some good money.
Right.
But this is what people don't understand. It's a bigger game than what people know behind it. Sometimes they sign you just to get you off, just to write you off too.
Right.
And I don't think people understand all of these little nuances. Like I said, there's black, there's white, and then there's a gray. It's a huge gray. It's a huge gray.
Know what they're talking about. So that's been my biggest thing, Ski, is just getting people the education and then deep diving myself, so that it's like, you know, you can't send me bullshit. I know the prices. You know what I mean? Like, so I know exactly what's going into a piece of gear and why a piece of gear may cost a certain amount and why a cheaper piece of gear costs a certain amount. But it's a decision. And here's my thing to a lot of the manufacturers, right? You have different tiers of people that buy stuff. It's like the other day when you put up a video and you was like, yo, I didn't really realize that some people that I'm talking to never want to really sell their music. They just, you know, people that just buy stuff, they just enjoy it. They just having fun, right? Like, I'm not really talking to those people if you like a hobbyist. But if you are a manufacturer, you kind of sell at 3 different levels, right? So there's the pro, what we call the pro level, right? That's people that's buying the actual board, or as still to this day, you know what I'm saying? They may not sell as many, but there's still a pro market that's going to buy pro stuff. Then there's the consumer, I mean, like the regular just consumer market, right? That's people at the bottom. That's a mother who's like, my son want to make beats, and she walk into Guitar Center and she bought a little Focusrite Red for Christmas for her son, right? Then this middle market is where they make all their money, and then we call that the prosumer market. And what they do,
prosumer.
Yeah, the prosumer market, and they trying to knock off things that should be in the prosumer market as pro things. And that's the problem. The prosumer market says, I only got a couple dollars. I do want a little bit of quality, but not the best quality. And if this break in a year or 2 years or update, I'm willing to go. They want you to keep coming and buying it again and again and again.
Oh my goodness.
Whereas like us in the pro market, we may buy something and we buy a quality thing. And that thing, my MP, I bought this in the late 90s and it's still rocking. I don't need another one. It was built like a tank. It's built well. The only thing I did was put the 3.5 update in it when Homeboy came out with that software update.
Yep, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm
The start with a V.
Alexi, I don't know.
Alexi,
it's an ill story. It's an ill story too, Ski. That with that, right? So like around 2010, Jay was the opening act for U2, right? In Australia. The guy that makes those is from Australia.
Oh, really?
Back then, I had contacted him and was like, bro, I need this, boom, boom, boom. He came to my hotel, dropped off 2 of them. It's just a little EEPROM chip. You know what I mean? That's how you change the software. And there was a little EEPROM chip. So he gave me 2 chips, you know what I'm saying? One is a backup, and it's dope. It got my name in the MP now. It expanded all the little features that you could fix. You know, I could put a compact flash card in the front, so that I don't got to keep taking this in and out. So now I got a 2 gig.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So when you did that, you opened up. If you remember, the original MP only had A, B, C, and D. So he made it so that you could have A through Z. You know what I mean? You save and it's just those little. But what I'm saying is that thing was built like a tank, so I don't need to buy it every 2 years. Is my point. So a lot of pro people they ran into this problem, right? And a lot of my OGs in the building world, the George Massenbergs of the world, the Paul Walkers of the world. You know what I'm saying? The Paul Wolf was right there. You know what I mean? At NAM with us. Yeah.
What they got the Wolf Council. Yep,
Paul Wolf is a serious dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He always remind me of Robert De Niro for some unknown reason. He always, being
able to speak to those guys. Like if you know Paul Wolf history of API was on its way out, right? Because of this very thing that I'm about to say. And Paul Wolf ended up buying API, right? Sells API, starts Tone Lux, right? Sells Tone Lux, then starts Wolf. You know what I'm saying? So back then, they was running into a problem of, okay, you in the 60s, everybody needed a board for their studio. Studios was popping up left and right. So people was making 2 boards a month. So then after you supply everybody that want a board, you only really got your newest customer and your oldest customer. Your oldest customer may come back and be like, yo, something is broke on the board. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to fix it. And then you got to put everybody in between. You done made it so they looking for new ways of bringing in revenue. Then what also happens, and this is the biggest part, the people who actually designed the gear, who became presidents of these companies, and the biggest one that we watched and saw was Roger Lynn. One of the main things that Roger Lynn said on that panel was like, look, I love doing equipment. I'm not the best businessman in the world.
Yeah.
What happens? So the normal thing will come in, will be now we'll publicly get traded, right? Which means that people can buy stock. Now you're bringing in somebody who's just about numbers, who's going to run the company, and all they looking at is numbers. And then you get to a point of when people start losing, you get this guy over at In Music that's buying up everything, and Akai gets sucked up into that In Music purchasing of a bunch of different companies where they looking at numbers and they're not looking at sound quality. Where yesterday when somebody was like, yo, is it possible to redo the 3000? It's absolutely possible to redo all of that, right? Right. The reason that Razum could remake the 12 is because they got off their ass. They just like, yo, we need these SSM chips. So they started making, the group of people that used to work at that company started making the SSM chips again. Now he can go back and get that filter and get that specific chip. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's all in what you want to do. The company has to invest in what they want to do or know what their business is. Yamaha, you know, I'm moving back, but like that little white cone that's on the NS10, the reason that they can't produce NS10s no more is because they were just going through and chopping the tree down. Them white cones come from a certain tree. They never replanted the tree.
Wow.
So like you just coming through and just chopping the tree down. And then that's why the new NS10s are not exactly the old NS10s.